Hello, just one more thing. I'm going to be opening breakout rooms for you that were there last year during deliberation. You guys will be going in your own room. I'm going to be opening them now, but don't go right away. Say go later, okay? I mean, just have to open them, so you're gonna have a pop-up, but just go later. Perfect, thank you so much. The participants should be coming in very shortly. Hi, Mary, how are you? I'm good, you're muted.
Okay, here I am. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you?
Good yourself.
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for judging today.
Thank you. My pleasure. Our pleasure.
That's great.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
The participants are going to start coming in about 1 minute. Okay, we'll be starting presentations at 1:55. Oh, at 2 o'clock actually. So never mind that, scratch that. They'll be coming in at 1:55 and we'll be starting the presentation at 2. Perfect. So I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, just a reminder that the presentation will be 15 minutes and then the Q&A period will be 15 minutes as well.
Thank you.
There will also be a deliberation of 15 minutes and then at the end, a feedback of 10 minutes.
Sorry, my teammates are finding the Zoom link. Not be late.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Right, so team one, you can start to prepare your presentation if you're ready.
Sorry, I didn't know I was on mute. I'm going to be the one sharing my screen, so if you want, I can do that right now. I'm not sure, can everyone see what I'm sharing? Yes. Okay. I'm not sure if all my teammates are here. Yeah. Okay. Do we have a time to start, or do we start right away?
You have 5 minutes to prepare, so if you're ready to start, you can go ahead.
Okay, so if we have 5 minutes, do we have a couple of minutes just to get everything together?
Yes.
So how
So just to repeat the breakdown of the presentation, there will be 15 minutes for the presentation, 15 minutes for the Q&A and the deliberation, and then 10 minutes for the feedback. If you guys could just change your name to team one and then your names. Thank you. So if you guys are ready, you guys can start.
perfect.
Yeah, I think we're ready. I'm just going to present. Okay. Okay, so hi everyone, we're team one. And today we have a very nice presentation prepared for you about our Electa Clarity Design proposal. So how our presentation is going to go, first of all, we will have a general overview about the issues and our goals and our solution. And then we're going to be talking about our project goals, then project development, our marketing plan, and then at the end, our ROI. So first of all, let us talk about the issue at hand. We want to develop a new design for Clarity, which is a guided radiotherapy device used in LINAC. So the LINAC machine essentially does a 360 rotation and does the radiotherapy around 6 to 8 weeks to help with prostate cancer. Currently, the probe, which is on the Clarity device, does not reach any other areas of the patient's body other than the prostate. Our goal is to create a more universal design for clarity, which would allow us to reach those other areas and therefore treat other cancers in other areas of the patient's body. Our suggestion is to implement a new robotic design which will allow us to reach those different areas automatically, in a sense, without interfering with the LINAC treatment or the radiotherapy. So our project goals, first of all, we will talk about the requirements, because before the design, we must look at the bigger picture. The system must obviously be firmly, securely, and safely attached to the couch top and should not be able to move in that sense. It must not interfere with the LINAC treatment. It must be cost viable, easy to implement, efficient to use. Also, a lot of quality assessments must be done onto the new design, as well as tests before making it patient safe. Another aspect that we must look at is a sustainability aspect, in the sense that the materials that we use and the design that we use should be more on the long term and more sustainable. So our design suggestion is to use a pick and place robotic arm, which is also used in a lot of other medical fields other than radiotherapy. We would remove the old frame of the probe, and we would attach it to the robotic arm, which can go vertically and horizontally in order to reach the other areas of the body other than the prostate, including that it can still reach the prostate to treat prostate cancer. The sensor would also be attached at the top above the probe, because to allow the functionality of clarity. In the end, it would still be firmly secure and the machine would be able to work on its own.
Thank you, Tia. So how will it work? As Tia mentioned, we will be keeping the initial base of the holder, which attaches to the couch top. Attached to the base would be our robotic device. The probe and the tracker tool will be held at the tip of our device, and the robot will have 6 DOFs, meaning 6 degrees of freedom, XYZ, pitch, yaw, and roll, which would allow with its versatility to reach different areas of the body. And through control input, a user would be able to control the movements of the robotic device and thus the position of the probe. So one very important thing to consider when we were coming up with a design is that the robotic device must not interfere with the radiation. And one scenario we thought about is that knowing that the LINAC would be rotating around the patient in a 360-degree motion, as shown on the slide, we fear that the placement of the robotic device during an upper body procedure would block part of the radiation whenever the LINAC finds itself on top. So in this case, we have decided that it may be better to function by cycles. In other words, after placing the probe in the desired place pre-procedure, and after having sufficiently scanned the area, we would then move the robotic device out of the way and proceed with the activation of the LINAC for a specific time. We would then stop the LINAC, proceed with placing the probe on the initial position to make sure that we were still targeting the correct area, and so forth. And we know that this type of procedure may not be able to monitor our desired part of the body at all times. We still believe that it's still a very accurate way of doing things and would not be wasting a lot of time, as with a computer interface, we'd be able to save the probe's initial position, thus having to only click a single button to move the probe back and forth. So the benefits of our design. First of all, it's due to its versatility, the new design would increase the number of patients and meaning it would lead to a higher demand for clarity devices. Would also help with time efficiency and also will offer an easier alternative to manual ultrasounds. When it came to a cost estimate for such a robotic device was between $1,200 and $10,000. Now it's very hard to estimate as it's very pre-planned. It is still very initial design, so it's very hard to find an accurate number, but that is, to our research, the cost estimate of such device, which does not include the implementation and training costs.
So for marketing plan, let me introduce our marketings. So firstly, we think our marketing is a demographic marketing that shows the B2B customers marketings and which develop into the hospital, university centers, and private clinics. That depends on the company size, industry, and job functions. As we all know, electric cat and it's big companies and their industries is separate in the global and as a high technical companies there has most job duties. The next slide. And for our marketings, their products aim to the clinic room systems and medical robotics and clarity. And we have big promotions in North American areas. If hospitals buy 2 or more machines, the second machines will get 15% discount and so on. The discount for the highest per each can reach the 30% off. For their place, we're more focused on the American marketing, but this company is a globalization company. Next slide. And for here is the market share, the current market share in North Americans. We do some research and find that the Electica has a 35% of market share, and Variance is the biggest market share in the North American, and the others is a 20% of. Next slide. We expect that in near future, our market share will surpass the Variance and get the first prize in the North American. Therefore, we have formulated the sales plans in North American and use the decision table to select the most suitable sales strategy. Next slide. Here is our decision table, and we are come up the 3 different ways to promote our products. Is academic exceptions and regional distributors and Google Search Plus. So we can see the best score is a regional distributor. That's where we select in the future. And here is our unique selling points. Electricus is a well-known company who provides a professional and advanced radiotherapy instruments that can be used in other areas of body, and the treatment circle is greatly shortened.
Thank you. So besides the engineering design, another key part about this project is their financial feasibility. So right now I will be going to talk about the ROI, which stands for return on invest. So our data is derived from their financial statement. So our estimation is based on the past year 2015 financial statement. And here I have highlighted some key data. And on next slide, I will talk about it more. So here are some of our significant numbers. We have reached a revenue of 11 million on the year 2015. However, our gross profit margin is 41% and the cost of product sold is 58%. And our profit margin is only 5%, which we can tell that this industry is not really a profitable industry. We have a high cost to build our machine, but we couldn't sell it. We couldn't have a large profit markup due to like government or society reasons or the other political effects. So on next slide, before I go into the ROI analysis, we need to know what are our initial and capital investment. So I have divided the product life by 4 phases. One is the research and development phase, where there will be a heavy R&D expense, and this expense could be sometimes sunk cost, and everything on this phase is uncertain. And on the second slide, testing slide, on this slide, on this, sorry, testing phase, on this phase, we will be having the cost of production, marketing expense, and licensing expense. This is the phase that we will be putting the most money in the whole, like in all the 4 phases. And then after, we will have our application phase, which is when we really put the money into the, put the product into the market. And then when we begin to gain money, and afterwards we'll have our future improvement phase, is when everything is settled down and we begin to receive the feedback of the client and rethink what, like how we can able to improve our products to a next level. So the next slide, I will talk about the timeline. As I mentioned before, we have 4 phases, and here is just a general timeline. So we will be spending 3 months in general to research and development our project, and we will be able to test it for 4 months on our nearby hospitals with the client and the patient. And then at the end of this 7 months, we'll be able to put this in the market. And after 9 months, everything is stable, we will receive feedback, and we will try to improve this project again, and then it will went back to the research and development phase. So which it will lead to our key point. The ROI will be estimated to reach 12.69%. And the cash flow will turn positive at the end of the Q3, because all the major costs will be before the application process, which is also like the testing phase. And the cost will decrease gradually when the time is passing by. And also after the product is licensed and is stable, there will be a boost of the sales, because everyone will be really interested in this new technology, and we will be able to see estimatedly 5% increase in revenue per quarter. And on next slide, we will talk about something that everyone in medical industry is concerned, the Obamacare. There is 2 sides of this policy. The advantage is that there will be more patients, and people will be more able to afford those health system in America, and they will increase in customer volume. And second, it will also increase the social awareness. However, for people who are working in this industry, it means lower profit margin and lower income, so less expensive for innovation. And also, it will also increase the waiting time and decrease the working efficiency. And all the numbers I have mentioned, you can check, we will be able to talk about more in the appendix and also in the Q&A. So that's the end of the presentation. Thank you, everyone. And now we're open to all questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. So if the judges are ready, have any questions, you can go ahead.
I can go first, that's okay. First of all, congratulations on the presentation. I really like the visuals, very nicely put together, very polished. I'm wondering, you said you had some more data in the appendix. Can you expand a little bit on the timeline? I'm curious what went into deciding that for R&D you're going to dedicate 3 months and then testing 4 months and so on. What is the logic behind it?
Okay, so basically I talked to the engineer of my team, which is Tia. And then because she has experience in those kind of research and testing, and which is her major, that's the number that we come up together. That's the average number for the industry.
Mm-hmm.
If I could continue on to that, my reasoning for that was that because we were given we wanted to look into within a year how much we could get done. I wanted to see and visualize if our most ambitious outcome would be that our testing and our development would be during that time. But of course, it is very flexible, because in reality, we have a lot of impactful kind of criteria that say a machine doesn't work or it's not as safe as we want it to be. It is up to change, but that was the most logical kind of set that we had in mind.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I can go next if it doesn't mind. Hi everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I am from the engineering background, so I go with the engineering questions first. There was a mention about the cost of robots between 1,200 and 10,000. I was wondering if there's some data that you can provide in terms of what kind of research you did and what was the factor that you have to consider when you take the robot that is you think that would fit for the job.
Yeah, so when looking up for the cost of a robot, first thing I looked at was the price of 6 degree of freedom robots. And when I was looking at robots, they were varying a lot from 1,000 to 10,000. Now, of course, there's a lot more in-depth reasoning for why each robot may cost more than the other. But I believe that on top of the cost of the robotic device, we will also have to implement the holder of a probe and also the installation on the couch top, which may have added fees, of course. But that is why we found the cost estimate between 1,200 and 10,000 to be quite correct, because we found a lot of renowned companies selling their 6 degree of freedom robots for around $4,000. But we envision that we will have extra costs, of course, for the implementation for the Clarity device.
So let's say if you want to proceed with the prototype, is there any particular option that you would like to try at the beginning, or it is still vague?
It is still pretty vague as in which robot we'll be picking.
Okay, thank you. And I have a question regarding the phases that was mentioned on slide 23. There's an application period that you mentioned at the end there was an improvement. Any idea how long the improvement would work? And what is expected after that?
I think the improvement phase is really depending on people's feedback during the testing and application phase. So it could vary from case to case. It's about like people's satisfaction about our project. So I think after the improvement phase, it could go back to the research. Like if we see that there's new technology, we'll go back to the research phase and then testing, and it's like a circle.
So it is per customer then? It is not something that you target the whole?
Sorry,
I didn't quite understood your question, sorry.
So the improvement is per customer? Like a customer tells you about the feedbacks and then you do the improvement for the customer, or is it something that it has to be done in general for all everybody across the client base?
if you want, I can take this one. How I would see it go would be that we would look at it overall in terms of customer satisfaction, but also in terms of efficiency and how the product is, how the machine is actually performing. Because in the end, we have to look at it from kind of a 360 point of view. It's not only, if we're going to improve it in that sense, it's not going to be from one aspect. So of course, we have to look at everything, and we have to look at if it's more efficient than what we had before. And that's it.
So my question is, how long would that you estimate that it would take, the improvement phase?
As my teammate said, it does depend. It depends on the improvements that we need. If they are drastic improvements, obviously it would take the same amount, like around more than a year. But if it's little changes, then a couple months maybe, but we still have to test it after the improvements. So I think half a year, maybe.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I agree with Angela. The slides were really, the visuals were excellent. So a few questions, I guess, on what Ellie and Angela asked. Again, I guess I'm also stuck a bit on the timeline and the costs. So when the cost of the robot is 1,200 to 10K, which range of the cost did you take in order to do the timeline and the overall capital investment cost? Like, to calculate an ROI, you have to have an initial investment, right? So I'm just wondering, did you take the lower end of the scale or the higher or the average? Like, how did you do the capital investment? calculation, and then also if the timeline varies, like the questions that they're asking, like if you did any kind of sensitivity analysis in the timeline, how does that impact the capital investments, because it's part of your installation, right? Like in testing, so it could also have an impact. So I'm just wondering, did you guys discuss that at all, or was it just like the assumptions behind the estimates?
Tia, can you go back to the financial statement?
Yeah.
It's probably out after the ROI. So all my data, I took it from the past exam, like the past financial statement, probably 1 or 2, 3, yeah, that one. So I actually go to the company's website and I took a screenshot of their income statement. So some of the data I used, for example, the R&D expenses, I took exactly like the one there. And I took like 20% of it because I assume like 20% will be related to our exactly this type of services, because I know they have different services. So I took the example from the past data, and then that's how my and also I use their percentage, such as the cost of goods sold ratio, the profit margin ratio. So I base it on this type of estimation to do my projection.
Okay, so you use on their existing financial statements, which is all their products and services included in there. So you're
Yes.
assuming this product is going to, on average, give them what they have across their portfolio of products.
Yes.
Do you think it could be a little bit riskier, or do you think that's like reasonable? Like,
Yes, I agree that there is a large risk, and which also might take consideration of the discount rate. I took 5% of the risk premium into my calculation, because right now on the case, we do not have any financial data. So, and I know it's really risky to do this type of assumption, but we really know not a lot of things about our whole project and what could happen in the project. But I do take consideration into the risk of premium while calculate the return on the investment.
okay. So in terms of the connection between, there's no integration between the robotic type then and the costs, right? Like they're two separate decisions you made. So it doesn't matter what robot you have, if you have the 1,002 or the 10,000, if my understanding is correct. You just base it based on their current financial statements.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, that's okay. It's just I wanted to clarify because I was trying to see if there was a connection there. And the other question is the application of that robot. Like, is it just being applied? Like, is it universal across everything, or is it in a specific area that you're going to try to start off with? Especially, I guess my concern is in the testing and application phase. Like,
I think I can take this one. Obviously, we are going to start with one specific area, which we had assumed was the abdominal area.
okay.
And we'll start on that because obviously we have to see how the machine performs on one scale. And then afterwards, if the tests are good and it's working well, then we will implement it on other areas.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, did you do any risk analysis? So I kind of asked some questions that I guess identified some risks, but overall, what would you say your top 3 risks are in your proposal?
I can talk a few. I think the first risk is about the innovation, about whether this innovation will be successful. But we will be able to know during the research area whether we need to go on with this project or we give up this project. And the second risk will be the financial risk, to see if we will be able to meet up the cash flow before this whole project will be monetized. So this is the top 2 out of my head, and if my teammate could have like others, yeah.
In terms of risk analysis, of course, the safety of the product. We have to do quality control and safety assessments on it, because obviously we are going to be using it on patients, and that's the biggest risk. For me, the safety is the biggest risk. If the machine works well, if the all the mechanics work well, and if it doesn't interfere with the LINAC rays, obviously. I don't know if anyone else from the team wants to add more on that, but it's from my point of view.
Okay. Well, you mentioned 3, so I'm okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
How many items are you planning to produce as a prototype when you start a project?
I think we have to test out several ones, not just producing one prototype. So around I don't know, less than 10, I guess. We have to do the first batch, test it out, because we don't want to produce too much and then they're deficient. And so we have to produce less than a dozen.
The reason I asked this question is, how did you estimate the revenue, ROI, and all these figures that you provided in the financial statements? What is the logic behind that?
Tia, can you go to the appendix? I did include the Excel about like how I calculate the ROI, maybe like a few slides after.
Is it this one?
Yes, so this is our calculation, and the one before is the ROI, the assumption. So for this one, I took the revenue, and the revenue is basically on a markup 58% on our cost of goods sold cost of production. The 58 is what I took from the exactly data from that year, because it's 58 of the revenue, and then I include some cost, which is cost of production, marketing cost, maintenance cost, innovation cost. And those costs, I also took them from like the past financial data, and I divided them by quarter. And sometimes like if it lasts longer than 1 quarter, I just counted the number and I divide them. And there are other implementation costs, like they're small, but it's just some random thing that could happen, such as the software, like additional license, network, even system configuration, or like labor training and contingency. And then, yeah, I just sum up them together and I did a cash flow. And on the last slide, I talked about like what ratio I choose. And yeah, that's basically my logic behind.
So what are the units here? The dollar values? Okay, so I don't see, Victoria, it is not clear, sorry. Okay, so I'll let Angela continue, sorry. Go ahead, okay, I will continue. So the number of items that you're manufacturing affects this calculation. So my question is how does it? How did you estimate the cost of software, for example, or training if the number of items that we are producing is unknown? How does that work?
I will say all my calculation here is like a budget. So I will say we will have 1.3 million, 1,321 million of budget to produce. And this really depends on like what type of robot that we have, and it ranges, and then the number of machine will range too, but our budget will try to stay the same to guarantee our profitability and cash flow.
I'm sorry, we're done the Q&A section.
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Thank you.
You did not time to finish your answer, but we'll be putting you guys in separate rooms so the judges can do their deliberation and also input their scores. So thank you for the team. I'll be moving everyone. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, I don't understand, like,
Hi, judges. I just want to remind you to put a score for every criteria. I think you guys forgot sustainability and ethics, if I'm not wrong. So just make sure you add something there. Thank you.
We can start with the feedback.
Okay, I'll go first. Firstly, thank you guys for taking the time to work on this. I do understand there's been time constraints and probably not being able to be in the same room head to head and having to work remotely has posed some challenges. That being said, I told you guys that during Q&A as well, I really liked the finished product. The presentation was nice and sleek. And I also like the kind of the handoff between the speakers was pretty seamless. So that was nice to see. I don't know if behind the scenes you work together collaboratively so that you know each other's content well or get feedback from one another. What I will say that what I would have liked to see is the assumptions that you based kind of your conclusions on. They weren't obvious in the slides or in the presentation. Some of them we discussed during Q&A, but again, I didn't see you putting a lot of focus on research and the numbers. When you make statements like you're gonna have like a certain, like a 10% market share, or you have to back it up with, you know, how you got to that conclusion, you have to have numbers. So just think about that whenever you make a claim, just make sure that you have those numbers, or perhaps somewhere on the slide, or perhaps you don't keep everything for, you know, Q&A session. You're a little bit more obvious in how you got to that conclusion, right? So all in all, I guess a little bit more research and based in facts would have helped a lot. But anyways, thank you.
I will go next. So again, I reiterate, I guess what Angela is saying, we've all agreed the visuals were really well done. So the graphs and the flow of the presentation as well. And I think the build, like, you know, getting all the way to the end. So I think that was really good in the handoffs. Where I had a bit of a challenge, and I guess it came out from my question, was the disconnect between the business solution and the engineering solution and the numbers. Like the numbers were taken from the financial statements of the company. However, they're not related. They're not being, you know, anchored down to what you're proposing, you know, and coming up even with a scenario of, you know, I realize the case doesn't give you actual numbers for the product, but, you know, you could have said, like, you know, hypothetically, say, the robot, you know, costed, I don't know, 3,000, right? And how many units I need to sell to hit the, you know, the required, and what would be the revenue potential markup to hit the revenue and the profit that we require, you know, and how many units do we need to sell. It did give something in the case box where it told you last year they sold 450 Linux were sold and 15% were Clarity, you know, involved with that. So you could have like anchored off of that a little bit and done something with that number, you know, like to kind of put a bit of like, you know, make it more pragmatic. Obviously you have to sell more than that in order to make this viable, right? Otherwise, what would you make a big investment? And then the ROI on the investment made. So I find, like, you know, there was something there that you guys could have just put some assumptions together and, presented like a hypothetical scenario. But overall, I enjoyed the presentation. I think I really like the product design. I think the design was interesting. So, but the substance behind like the financial viability was like connected to it was a bit missing on my end. But thank you. But I realized you also had 6 hours, and this is challenging. So, I still think you guys did a great job in the 6 hours you had.
I too thank you for your presentation. In terms of presentation itself and timing, everything was good. You captured the requirements. It was one of the key points that we always take it into consideration when we are judging. In terms of engineering, as I tried to explain during the QA, I was hoping that I could see more of a concrete understanding of the products. You could have provided some samples of the products that exist on the market. Whenever you are providing engineering solution, something had to be there. I completely understand that in 6 hours it's impossible that you design the complete product, but at least some abstract idea would have been nice. In terms of the implementation, a more concrete implementation plan would have been nice. For example, just pick some numbers and say that you are developing, for example, 10 units, 20 units, you calculate the cost and everything, and this way you know what exactly you're doing. What was provided in terms of the ROI calculations, it was based on the current financial situation of the company with some considerations. It had to be connected with the engineering factor, as both Angela and Eva mentioned. There were 2 key requirements that we were looking for. One was the lump sum factor and the innovation. For lump sum, we didn't cache anything, at least I didn't, but for the innovation, it would have been better that you had highlighted in your solution. This is something that could help a bit in terms of improving the quality of the presentation. And also, there were some unknown factors for me on slide 22. I didn't have a chance to ask you the question. Perhaps you could explain, but just a feedback. I had no idea how those numbers, were there. So this, a bit of, legends or something on the diagram sometimes could help. Thank you. That would be all for me.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, I think there's someone else. Oh, I'm very sorry.
You can go ahead.
No, I believe there's another judge that hasn't spoken yet. Sorry. No?
No.
Oh, okay. Then thank you so much. And yeah, we completely understand that there was the disconnect between the business and the engineering side, which is a big flaw in our presentation, something we tried to fix, but the 6 hours was a big constraint on us, but definitely not an excuse. But we thank you so much for letting us present in front of you.
Thank you, and
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just before you leave, Victoria has an announcement to tell you guys, to the participants.
So I'd like to thank the judges and the participants. So for the team 1, you guys will have to come back at 5:15 in the K-Solvent Zoom to find out who's the winner. Thank you.
To get to know not the winners, but who is making to the finals.
Perfect.
Okay, so at
Yeah.
5:15, back in the case solving room, and we're gonna ask the finals. So we'll see you guys then.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye guys. Great
Bye.
job.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll be letting in the 4 next participants. I think they're already here. I'm just going to double check. Just give me 2 seconds. Hi, are you all team 5?
Yes.
Awesome. Perfect.
There's just some of them are connecting to audio still.
Yeah, no issue. So you guys
Can I share my
start-
screen?
Yeah, exactly. You guys can start sharing your screen.
I'm just waiting for Andre. He's still connecting to audio.
Perfect.
You guys want to message him? Make sure everything's okay with Andre.
Oh, he's not there?
Yeah, he's still connecting to audio. Hopefully he didn't have any problems with his internet. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to share my screen.
So if you guys could just add team 5 in front of your name, that would be appreciated.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
And Victoria, can you just repeat the breakdown for the participants, please?
Yes. So for the breakdown, there will be 5 minutes to prep for your presentation, 15 minutes for the presentation, Q&A, and deliberation each, and then 10 minutes for the feedback. Thank you.
So can we start the presentation now?
Yeah, you can start prepping.
You can, if you guys are ready to start the presentation, you can start now. Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to share my screen. You guys see it?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so hello guys. Today, me and my team are going to be presenting our solution to optimize the Clarity product in order to find new applications for soft tissue visualization. So to start off, I'm going to present the team. We have Bogdan, who is a software engineering major. We have Andre, who's a business technology management major at John Molson. We have Paul Apostolos, who is a computer science major. And there's also me, a software engineering major. Melissa. So to start off, what is our proposition for the Clarity product? So our idea is to add rails on the side of the patient's bed in a U-shaped form. And we'll be adding, the sensors will slide on the rails, which will go up and down, and they will be moving closer to the patient for tests with a telescopic handle that will be extending in order to reach the patient's part. So I'm going to pass it on to Bogdan, who's going to be explaining our diagram.
Well, first of all, hello everyone. My name is Bogdan Podario. I'm a software engineer, as my colleague introduced me. So the solution we come up with is actually a pretty it's a rail that actually supports the ultrasound device, and we go around the patient itself. So I know it's on the schematics right now. It's not really a U-shaped rail, but in the initial solution, it's supposed to be a U-shape, but we actually don't have the neither of us don't have the AutoCAD design application, and we couldn't actually implement it perfectly. Sorry for that. So yeah, the main idea is usually a ultrasound device that will go around the body of the patient, and to think about it is it's because it's independent of the movement of the linac itself. So actually, it can actually stay at one point, one fixed on the point, and the linac would actually be able to work by itself all along. So this is the solution, the main solution proposed. And now we can implement the rail that have to go around the body of the patient. So we actually have maybe a cost that would actually approximate with the given materials to maybe let's say around $5,000, $5,000. And for the ultrasound device, we don't know yet the cost for that yet. So that would be for the main engineering design we had found, and we actually going to be a little bit. We as a software engineer, we more focused on the financial application of such a utility device. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to note that Andre showed the U-shaped device.
Oh, right. Okay, I'm sorry. didn't have him on there.
Yeah, it's
So he's showing, yeah.
All right, sorry.
it's hand drawn, but at least it has the U.
No, because like there's so many people right now in the call. I'm not really okay. Sorry.
So we're going to continue with some statistics. So for cancer right now, there was about 1,806,000 cancer cases diagnosed in the US in 2020 alone. And there was 248,000 prostate cancer cases that were estimated in the US for 2021. So that means that 20% of all cancer cases in men are actually prostate cancer cases. So that's a really big chunk. So the Clarity device will be getting a lot of profit from it. However, we are missing a lot of market opportunities here, because if we look at it, there's breast cancer that has millions of cases, colorectal, a lot of lung cancers, melanoma, and those are all opportunities that with our new implementation, we could get a better vision of the soft tissue, and we could see other cancer places. So now we're going to go on to with Paul. Paul, you are on mute.
Sorry about that. Right, I just wanted to say, I'm Paul, as my colleague just said. And the main reasons that we would want to make these adjustments is because instead of the current 8-week treatment time that the IMRT devices have, the SBRTs only take 1 week to complete their treatments. So being able to treat more kinds of cancer is going to allow for hospitals to treat more patients in the same amount of time that it would take for one patient. Also, the SBRT system has a lot less side effects associated with the treatments. I was reading on the IMRT's side effects, and it can also sometimes cause cancer because of how harsh it is. So yeah, it's usable and effective on early forms of cancer, the SBRT that is, of course, and it's very good at what it does. It's a lower cost, it comes at a lower cost, and because there's a low market share of SBRT right now, it means there's a large opportunity for growth in the radiation technology market. And if we get the next slide, please. So just to look at the a quick comparison is that the treatment time, like I mentioned, is 1 week versus 8 weeks. And the average treatment cost I found is about $10,000 with the SBRT versus an IMRT, which was ranging from $15,000 to almost $20,000. And as you can see, the SBRTs have only half the market share that the IMRTs do, which means there's about a potential of doubling its current market share. And that is just, that's a large opportunity for growth. So if we go to the next slide, please. That's going to be Andre.
Yeah, hi. So my name is Andre, and what we're going to look at is a bit of a visualization of the market share and exactly how that would translate. So right now we can see that Clarity has a part of stereotactical products, right? So it can only scan for prostate cancers right now. With our device, it would allow us to see more cancers, which means that it would allow us to take a bigger part of the stereotactical products. That's one thing, but it's still within our company, right? So do we really want to put off like products in our own company? Although we could argue that yes or no because of production costs and whatnot, we didn't really get into it. However, what we can see is, Melissa, if you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so what we do see is that we would take a big chunk of the IMRT because, as Paul mentioned, there's just so many reasons to adopt SBRT, I believe, instead of IMRT, for reasons such as it's safer, you can treat more patients, and Paul touched some of them more in depth. So yeah, stereo could, as you can clearly see, would take a big chunk of it. And with that, clarity would also expand, and that would allow the company to sell two products in one, right? Because you get clarity, which is not usually necessary for stereo devices. You can have your own or not imaging systems. But since clarity would have much more versatility with so many more options, it would take a way bigger chunk. So some numbers to put on this: before, clarity was about 15% of the stereo, and stereo was about 20 to 30% of our all Elekta LINAC products, right? But now we would estimate that it could go to about take almost half of LMRT within the first few years. Of course, it wouldn't be all of it, at least not from the start, because you want to get a certain return on investments, especially for hospitals who already have purchased it. However, for hospitals, it's advantageous because they get more patients treated, and for us, it's advantageous because we get to fund their a payment method that's more advantageous for us with the new the Obamacare, because now instead of getting people to pay per usage, we get to pay them in one shot, and that's better for us because it takes a lot more. Our device gets to have a lot. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Our device takes a lot less usages to treat one patient. So yeah, that's that would be how we would attack the market. If you could. Yeah, so in conclusion, this is why you should opt for our solution that we propose. We believe that by installing this rail, we would be able to penetrate a new part of the market, and in the process help hospitals and help patients. And also your company stands to make a lot of money because it gets to have this new chunk of market. So thank you for listening to all of us. And yeah, we appreciate you taking your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I start?
Sure.
I have one obvious question, I think. Where did you weave in the sustainability and ethics point in your presentation? I think it was one requirement.
Yeah, well, if I can address that, I don't know if you guys want. Okay, so well, the sustainability and ethics is kind of within the treating more patients in the less time frame. I guess that's like hospitals get to treat a lot more patients. And that's just better for everybody overall, especially since Paul mentioned that it's apparently also less harmful, or at least it has less probability of causing harm. So if you implement something that has less probability to cause harm, it would be more beneficial to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I liked your research about your market share. If you can flash that on screen again. I think it said.
It's about 2 slides back.
No, when you were showing your potential untapped markets. The bar graphs.
Oh, you're talking about the other cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's 4 up. Yeah.
Yeah, where you expand your. It just says at the top, cancer survivors. What about the cancer patients that get treated and don't survive? Aren't they in your target?
Well, yeah, obviously they are. How this graph was just about like the one I found was about cancer survivors, but usually with cancer survivors and cancer, that usually it's like the higher the percentage of cancer survivors, that means like there's even higher like cancer cases in that specific cancer department, like a cancer type. So that's how I planned it out for this graph.
Okay, maybe I can go next. Angela, are you done with your questions?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Okay. Thank you for the presentation. So yeah, the slides were, you had nice slides, and so I'm from the financials perspective, like there was a requirement to talk about like the ROI. I didn't see a slide on ROI. Is that something you guys considered, or it was something that was not looked at?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Actually, that's really interesting because we spent probably most of our time on that, and we came up really empty-handed because we couldn't find any numbers relating to the cost of the equipment, or just the cost, whether it was within Electa or just other companies. We tried to look at competitors to have a comparison to see for the cost of the equipment. Also, we didn't really have a price for our own adjustments, since we weren't exactly sure. We have an idea of how it could work, but we have no clue how to price it. So it was kind of hard to come up with a figure to add to the cost of the equipment.
Okay, but I believe it was Bogdan that mentioned 5K materials. Like you could just do like an incremental analysis, like in terms of maybe the changes you were going to make. And
of course, so it's really about the rail itself. So we're not talking about the actual ultrasound system right now. It's just the rail itself. So the rail itself is going to be pretty precise in order to adjust minimal movements to minimize the movements as small as possible, and also actually pinpoint the exact location of the tumor itself. So this is why I looked over some how do we call it, materials we can actually use for this rail stuff. And one of the a system used by another company, it's actually pretty much around $3,000 for it, and it's a pretty accurate systems I found out. And for the rest of the material, I approximate to be around $2,000. So it's roughly came up to like $5,000. Yeah, not a bit.
Okay. Also in the case packs, it talks about like last year they sold for 450 Linux were sold, of which like 15% had clarity in it. So I don't know if you guys were able to extrapolate anything from that, like in terms of what you're doing and what the increase can be.
Yeah, was it the 15% clarity being 15% of all Linux products, or was it 50% of all stereotactical products?
I believe it says only 15% of those currently include clarity. So whatever Linux was sold, 15%, they included clarity in it.
Oh, okay, we understood it as so it mentioned 20 to 30% being stereotactical products, and 15% of those having clarity as imaging device, which is why afterwards we mentioned in the 2 slides where we present the market share, we said that clarity would take a bigger proportion of it. We figured that clarity might not have been as attractive at first with SBRT, because it didn't offer such a wide range of imaging, but then it would take better. Yeah, and for the projections, like we said, like it was hard. We could only make pretty much proportions, but we couldn't come up with exact figures because we had no clue what a single device costed. So we couldn't really extrapolate and like multiply that by 450, or even take the 15%. Even if we were to project the clarity to go from 15% to say like 30%, we can exactly put a price per equipment, so we can put a final price tag on it.
Mm-hmm. This slide is the middle column supposed to be IMRT, or is it supposed to be SRT?
IMRT.
Okay, because IMRT is 8-week duration, right? And you were going towards the 1-week duration, which is.
So the IMRT is basic. So we have all of Electa Linac products, right?
Right.
And then out of those, we have the stereo and the clarity. We didn't mention, because I believe Electa also has IMRT. However, there are also other companies that have IMRT. In fact, IMRT is probably one of the biggest from what we could saw, the most common one at least. There's also MRI ones, which are even more precise, but they're more costly, which cover a smaller population, a smaller part of the products. But with the IMRTs, we like the ones that are outside of Electa's equipments, we thought that we could dive in and scoop that part up and then have them be stereos instead of being more of our IMRTs.
Okay, so you're not including SRTs, like the 1-week duration here. These are just all the 8-week duration ones.
Yeah. So we're not. Yeah, we're competing with the we're stealing the chunk of the 8-week durations and we're translating it into our 1-week durations. Like the stereo, the SBRT is the one that we put down. So we're taking a part of the market that already exists in IMRT and we are converting it into Electa's SBRT.
Okay, I got confused because page 11, where you show the duration cost per patients, and you have SBRT versus IMRT. So, and I believe we were going towards the 1-week treatment time,
Yeah.
right? So,
yeah.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're growing now into the 8-week treatment time.
No, well, we are taking all of the products that are in the IMRT and we're like translating into, we're basically stealing it from the IMRT products on the market.
Oh, I see. So you're showing a grab there that you're grabbing.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we put it that way, because you're delving into the IMRT that's not Electa products on the market presently.
I see. Okay, so you have to make them switch over. Okay, so it was a bit confusing.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay. What are and I'll let the other teammates ask questions, but what are the 3 top risks you see in what you've proposed?
Does anybody want to answer?
Well, I can start. So maybe it's actually the implementation we did on the technical part, part of the solution. It's maybe we're gonna be like compromising a bit the movement of the linear itself a little bit, maybe, because maybe it's not like 360 anymore. It's like maybe like a little less angle. Because I know the linear can actually rotate over the body, over the whole patient, right? If I understand well from the textbook, right? So maybe there's gonna be a bit of interference there. That's it. It's not much.
Yeah, and another risk would be with the depth. None of us are physicians, but we assume that it could see a certain depth into the person, but we don't know if, for example, if you put the I'm doing a demonstration. If you're putting the sensor here, we don't know how deep it can read into the body or how accurate it is. We do know that the prostate is relatively close, and that's why it works. But that could be something that definitely is worth looking more into to see if it is actually 100% accurate and it keeps that accuracy.
Okay.
We actually spend a lot of time at the beginning of the case competition to look over for a software solution for it, but we couldn't actually, because we actually have a bunch of software engineering there, and we couldn't actually come up with a software solution. So we have to redirect ourselves to a more mechanical solution to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any other risks?
Well, one final risk is, of course, in how the system works itself, where it's mounted to the actual bed itself, where it's possible that if the patient is moving too much, it could create some inaccuracies with where your of course where the part that's scanning is, because you are moving, of course, but you may also be moving the equipment itself, and that's why it's so important to use high quality equipment so that doesn't happen, and ensure it's properly mounted.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I like your presentation. I like the AutoCAD manual AutoCAD drawing. It was amazing. I have one like a simple question. What exactly is your solution here? Are you providing the U-shaped rail, or is it beyond that?
It's the U-shaped rail. It's that's what our best drawings could come up with. We had another idea, which was to stick it to the top of it, like right next to the not the sensor, the line, like the blaster. But then I believe it wasn't one of the conditions that it had to be mounted on the bed. So we figured, yeah, a rail is the way to go, because we couldn't place anything on top, because then it would clearly directly interfere with the proton. So U-shape is what we came up with.
We actually also talked a little bit about the software implementation of what kind of software improvement we could actually make to the system itself. At first we actually tried to develop like an AI that will actually pin spot the cancer. Like, like I know there's a physician in there, like actually have to locate the tumor on the 3D scan, right? using the how do you call it, the Mosaic software, right? And we actually wanted to maybe add like a software addition to it. So like maybe it's gonna be like a more correct decision to pinpoint the tumor itself, you know. And there's also the maybe the algorithm behind the I know the patient is actually there's actually a little bit of movement inside the patient during the irradiation process. So maybe improve also the algorithm that actually track the tumor during the procedure. Yeah.
So this what does the software exactly do? Is it manually operates the robot, or is it something that provides suggestion? What is it that the software is supposed to do?
For the first part, for the part of the locating the tumor first. So yeah, there's got to be a physician there. That's for sure. But there's actually also like the software who actually like maybe could actually locate make a suggestion about where the tumor can actually be. You know, so maybe if the physician missed some point, and actually there's maybe a tumor there too. You know. And for the second part, that's for the part during the procedure itself. The patient is actually, in the case, the patient is actually moving a little bit. In the internal parts of the patient are moving a little bit because of the respiration and the digestive system working all together. So we can actually implement maybe a better.
I hate to interrupt.
Yeah,
we'll have to move to the feedback phase.
Okay, sorry.
So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
So for the deliberation phase, I'll be putting you guys in separate rooms. So the judges, I will put you in the judging room. Or you guys can already move to that room if you guys are able to do it. I'll put the participants in the participation room. For the judges, are you guys able to go to the judging deliberation room?
I don't have the option to. I just have leave meeting. It doesn't say that I can leave the room.
Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to close all rooms and then reopen them so you guys can have access to them. Hello, I'm so sorry. I had to close the breakout rooms because some judges weren't able to go into their rooms, but we'll just break it again and we'll start deliberation time right now, okay? Thank you, everyone. Okay, you guys should have access to the rooms now.
Hi, before we start with the feedback, I'd like to tell the participants that at 5:15, they will need to return to the case solving room so we can announce the team that will be going to the next round. Thank you.
Eva, did you want to go first?
Yes, I can go first. Thank you so much for the presentation. We enjoyed your slides. We enjoyed certain aspects of the presentation, like the, I think Ali and Angela will also comment, but the engineering design, the U thing is interesting. Like, you know, I think it has a lot of good potential. Some of the stats also were very interesting, so that I believe were presented so by Melissa, right? So like so there were some really good things. Like I really like page 11 also, like I like that slide. So there's a lot of good stuff there. As you guys said, the business and the costing part and the whole, like, you know, tying it back to the solution was, you didn't attempt it because you didn't have numbers. So, you know, you were expected to put like some assumptions together and kind of like put like a hypothetical, I guess, costing model, even though, you know, with based on whatever you found from your research, and maybe even the financial statements of the company, like, you know, or the competitor as well. Like there was some information there as well available on Google, like from yeah, so like Varian, but it just seemed like there was a disconnect. Like, did you guys like? I don't know, I'm going to ask a question. Did you guys feel like there was like a disconnect, like when you were doing the project, like in the sense that it wasn't clear what you needed to do, or is it just us feeling that? I guess you're not used to being asked a question.
No, sorry. I'm just was muting myself. So yeah, we actually feel a disconnect. Not gonna lie, to be honest. Exactly. Yeah. So first of all, we all are software engineers, and we actually tried to come up with as I said, we tried to come up with a software engineering solution, and we couldn't really. So we actually have to redirect ourselves to do a more mechanical solution to it, and that's fine. That's we actually explored new fields. We actually tried our best to actually come up with a solution, and we actually enjoyed to talk to each other and actually have we got fun together to like come up with a solution. Yeah, even though we're actually short on time at the last minute to actually create the presentation, actually implement a solution.
Okay, yeah. So maybe that took up a lot of time, so then you weren't able to go back to all the evaluation criteria and say that we cross all those blocks. Is that what happens?
Yeah, it's a little bit that what happened.
Okay,
yeah.
So we felt it, and that's why I had to ask the question, because it's not normal that we felt it. So like that, so it was clear something. Yeah. Okay, so now you understand where we're coming from. So there's like a disconnect between a bit of the evaluation criteria and the full presentation. There was good elements, but then there's pieces missing. Like Angela asked about the sustainability and ethics, you know, the whole business thing is missing, you know, the business context of it, right? Even with some hypothetical figures being put together. So yeah, so, okay. So that's my feedback. So, and even the risks, like when I asked the question of risks, again, you know, it was clear that the numbers weren't there because I asked the question. None of your the top three risks talked about the business risk or the financial risk of the project. So that actually surprised me because, but I guess you guys were so, yeah, it's unfair. Like, you know, so I think the question period from that perspective, like you could have recovered a little bit and you guys, you know, did not, like you had the opportunity, but you didn't, like to be able to kind of recover and say, you know, that's a risk and we didn't do that part.
I'll go next just to continue on what Eva said. By the way, I'm happy to hear that you guys had fun. I think it's a big part of this exercise, right? Yes. Teamwork and enjoying what you're doing. We certainly enjoy seeing your presentation. I personally have been in Sangha for, I don't know, 3 years now. I like that you, being a marketer, of course, I like that you dedicated quite a bit of a presentation on marketing, although if you really read the case, you just needed like a very basic marketing plan, right? So from my point of view, I liked you dabbled a little bit into total addressable market and just, right, I enjoyed that part, but not to lose kind of track of what it's actually asked of you. So the presentation, beautiful. but it seems very conceptual, right? Very aspirational, not really anchored in numbers, not a lot of research that was obvious. You have to make some of these things obvious, you know? So I would say maybe for next time that you're doing this, like make sure you really understand what you're being asked for, right? Like problem statement, you glossed over it, you jumped right into solutioning. Make sure you hit that point. Like Eva said, like ROI, like sustainability, make sure you hit all those points because you're being judged and scored on it, right? So be a little bit more tactical. And then when you choose a solution, your U-shaped rail, stick with it and be ready to back it up without going into, well, we also thought of this and we also thought of that and all the other options. You're really just selling us one solution and you have to be convinced so that you convince us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfectly.
I go next. Thank you for the presentation. As I said, I liked the presentation. You know, it was, you know, you were basically presenting what you had. I see that you have like a engineering team, like you're mostly software engineers. You know, we see a lack of marketing on your side. And remember, when you want to present in some sort of engineering solution, you always need somebody to sell it to the people. And you know, if you know there were some efforts done on that side, it would have been great. You provided a good, fair research on the problem analysis. It seems that you read and captured the requirements. I was hoping to see something about the competitors. You're presenting a solution that, you know, why would I buy your solution? Why not going to the competitors on the market? So that you know, I was expecting to see. Slide 13, I like the way that you hand drawn the shape. What I suggest is that maybe take a look at morph tricks on PowerPoint. Using PowerPoint presentation, you can easily create simple animations, and it would have been great to basically to shift the boxes to the other part. In terms of the requirements, the case required you added certain things. For example, they were trying to shift to lump sum payments. So you would have it would have been nice to have some efforts done on that side. You know, in terms of investment and ROI, you know, we expected some data analysis, you know, which was not there. In terms of the U-shaped rail, one of the requirements on the case was to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the work of the person who's doing the treatment. Perhaps during question and answer we could have answered that, but you know, that was one of my questions that I wanted to ask, which I didn't have a chance. And also the case suggested that we move away from IMRT. But you know that you justified your solution. You basically provided a case that given this solution, we are making a profit. But again, the data was not that clear. When it comes to software, I'm very religious about it. You mentioned software, it was casually mentioned. It is very important that you specify what you're doing. There are many branches of the software development that can be done in here in terms of, and even the AI is a generic term and many use it in the industry, but you know, I think it is better that we emphasize on what accuracy is very important. So the software, the scope of a software and the timeline, the development resources and everything, whenever you're thinking of a software, those data are critical. So maybe dedicate one slide on that. Apart from that, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
So thank you to both the judges and the participants. Just to remind you guys again, at 5:15, you guys will need to return to the case solving room to see who will be going to the next round. Thank you.
We'll see you guys there.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Great job.
Bye.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So the next presentation, the people should be joining at 3:55. So if you guys want to get up and walk a little bit, now's the time.
Just a reminder for the judges, we'll be starting in 4 minutes. Thank you. The participants should be arriving in a few minutes, just so that you guys know.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So
Hi,
if you
everyone.
guys, oh, sorry.
Excuse me, so there's just one person from team 3 that should not be in this Zoom.
Yes.
So if you don't mind leaving the Zoom so we can start presenting, I would be very appreciated.
So for team 9, if you guys could just add team 9 in front of your names, that would be appreciated. So I'll go through the picture of what will be happening. So you guys will start for 5 minutes with presentation, 15 minutes. Sorry, you guys will have 5 minutes to prep your presentation, 15 minutes for the presentation, 15 minutes for Q&A, and 15 minutes for deliberation. Then there will be a 10-minute feedback. So if you guys are ready to prep, you can go ahead.
What do you mean by prepare exactly?
Or like your PowerPoint, you can share PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so we share our screen?
Yeah, if you guys are ready to present, you guys can go right away.
Okay. Well, team, do you want to just do that?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Did you want to just present?
Yeah, we could present right away. I don't see why not.
Great. Can anyone from my team share their screen?
Jamil, I think you have the PowerPoint, right? Downloaded, ready to go.
Okay, so good afternoon, judges and panel. This is our presentation to the case competition in collaboration with Electa. So this is our team of consultants. So I'm joined today with Jamila Ban, who's also an engineer. I myself, Sarah, I'm an engineer. Anthony Monterano is an engineer. And then we have Maimuna Silla, who's a business consultant. And we believe our team is very qualified for this particular problem. And we proposed solutions which fit with the company's objectives. So first, we're going to be going over a background to the case. Second, the problem description. So what needs to be changed. Third, we're going to go over an engineering more solution. Four, we're going to look at all the business aspects and how they can be improved. Five is our plan of action. And then finally, we're going to go over the conclusion. Okay. So first for the, sorry, my Zoom is bugging. Okay, so first, Electa has been a leader in precision radiation for over 5 decades. The company is committed to ensuring that every cancer patient has access to precise radiotherapy treatment. Electa offers a wide variety of treatments ranging from radiotherapy, oncology, and neurosurgery. They ensure to deliver precise, more accessible, and personalized radiation therapy depending on the specific needs of every patient. And currently, Electa has convinced 6,000 hospitals to use their products and treated over 100,000 patients. So our team strongly believes we can further increase these numbers through our proposed solution.
So we'll be talking specifically about the Clarity device, more specifically how it should be held within this new world. So right now, the Clarity can only scan prostates, which has allowed for a more comfortable and convenient experience for most patients since it's non-invasive. It also does create 3D images with the help of the Mosaic software. And with the Linec technology, it's able to accurately track and destroy any tumors that it finds.
Okay, so for the problem description, so one of the main problems is the rivalry with Varian Medical Systems. So they're currently the largest supplier in radiation therapy solutions. And their new product called Calypso is already able to do radiation therapy all over on every part of the body, which gives them an advantage, and which means that we need to upgrade our product already. So we need to redesign the Clarity components and also to be able to increase the sales as well. So factors to consider. So firstly, sustainability, since we know that it's important for the company. which means that when we look at, let's say, materials or manufacturing, we can definitely consider sustainability. Ethics, we recognize that the company Electa has been identified to be one of the most ethical companies in the world. Profitability, so when implementing our new product, we need to make sure that it's going to be worthwhile for our investors. Efficiency, we want it to be able to differentiate itself from other products out there, and to be able to treat more patients, since there's a growing need for patients to go through radiotherapy. And finally, versatility, we want it to be able to work on different parts of the body and be able to, for every patient, every cancerous patient, to have access to it. Next.
So our current goals with this new product design is to increase the number of treated patients, so clinics can have more patients coming in and out, to reduce the risk of clarity for any users of the radiation. So if we have any workers who are inside the room, we don't want them to get any radiation cancer or anything like that. So we would prefer if they stayed out of the room. So this new technology would keep them out of the room. We'd also want to create a more efficient and universal scanning process, so it can scan all over the body, not just the prostate. So yeah, currently it does mainly work in the prostate area. So our goal is to have it work throughout the thoracic and abdomen area, as well as the prostate, but more so virtually everywhere around the body.
Currently, there's only 13.1% of cancer patients being treated, which was the prostate cancer. And so we estimated that if our product is able to scan everywhere on the body, there would be 52.1% of cancer patients, different varieties of cancers that could be treated using Clarity.
All right. So our solution can be seen here as a render that was designed in the computer-aided design software SolidWorks. So the idea was to create a robotic arm that can hold the Clarity probe while manipulating it in all three dimensions freely. Some inspiration was actually taken from dentists and the X-ray machine they use to image the side of your mouth, which they're able to position all around your face, all around your head, with a similar method as what we chose. So it can be controlled in one of two ways. The first way is manually, like how the dentist positions the X-ray machine. So the person, like the person working with the Clarity machine, will just position it in approximately the location of the cancer. And then the second is the remote control operation, where the operator moves to the remote control room and they control it from a distance so as not to get radiation poisoning. The software for the controls has not been written yet, but it was envisioned as being similar to RoboCell, where the location of the end effector of the robot can be controlled as a function of X, Y, and Z, which takes into account how to move all the joints, or the rotation of individual joints can be controlled in terms of angles. With all that being said, this robot is a TRR configuration robot, which means that each arm has, the arm and the wrist have 3 joints each. The TRR stands for twist, rotation, rotation, which means that the arm and the wrist each have 1 twist joint, 1 twist joint and 2 rotation joints. This means that the end effector of the arm can be moved freely into any position in 3D space. And then from there, the Clarity probe can be reoriented from that position as it is necessary. The 3 rods in the bottom, like sticking out of the bottom of it, are to locate the robot along the holes in the side of the couch top. Then each of the 6 joints in the robot will be powered by a standard rotational DC electric motor, as these are more precise than hydraulic or pneumatic motors. The robot itself is entirely made out of acetoplastic, which is a standard material for medical equipment due to its resistance to chemicals and solvents, as well as its thin and lightweight nature. This is also a fully recyclable material. So if a component needs to be replaced or whatever, it's reused within the same environment without destroying nature anymore. And so with the motors, the clarity, and the wiring all taken into account, this robotic arm in its current form only has a mass of 8 kilograms, or a weight of about 17 pounds. If you go to the next slide, so to demonstrate the freedom of motion presented by this robot's configuration, it was moved into a few theoretical positions in the CAD software SolidWorks. On the left is a position that could be held by the robot if, for example, the patient has a growth in their lung, so you need to position it over their body, and then from there you can move it however you please. The position on the right is if, for example, they have a tumor in their kidney and you need to place it right up against them. This CAD model is presented without motors or wiring due to limitations of our own knowledge. However, the wiring should theoretically pass through the arm itself or along the side of the arm itself, and the motors should be put into the empty sockets that can be seen at each of the joints. Despite all this, the robotic arm actually still fits within the current Linaic and Mosaic configurations, taking up only 1 full meter of space from top to bottom when fully extended, which is less than the position sensor's theoretical lowest position. Muna, you're muted. Yeah.
Hello, so our goal is to provide a universal product that is feasible and provides high return on investment. At the moment, Clarity currently has only 15% of lineup sale. So from 2015-2016, we could see that the company's net sales in Clarity, it's 201 million, but based on our projected sales, it'll be about 261 million because of our new universal use of it. Yes. So our return on investment, according to our research, there's an average reimbursement rate from Obamacare and regular insurance of 90%. And because our new process leads to reduced costs for patients, our average reimbursement rate would lead to a better return on investment. So our universal Clarity value should increase by 15%, giving us a very high return on investment based as compared to our previous years when we were dealing with only a specialized Clarity product. Yes, so we compared our IMRT to CBRT. We concluded that we can treat patients faster. So instead of 8 weeks, it could take 1 week to treat. That is 10 times faster. It's more efficient. So we're able to treat more patients. So we could accommodate more patients, and we're able to also treat more patients. That would increase our profitability as well and our sales.
So just a basic plan of action if this solution is adopted. First, it would be to manufacture a prototype and set up the compatible software as I described earlier. Then it would need to be tested because, like, of course, physical and virtual tests are different. Then from there, once it's tested and refined, it would be to showcase it in the public and private health sectors, and then implement it with the current Linaic and Mosaic configurations. And then it would just be a matter of increasing the bookings to increase the number of patients treated.
So to conclude, our product would not only treat more patients, it would treat a higher amount of cancer patients, so different cancer types, and it would also be profitable for companies, which is why we expect a growth in sales. Sorry. And did you have any questions for us?
Who wants to go first? I have more observations than questions.
I can go first. So thank you for the presentation. Love the smoothness of the transfer from person to person, and very clear slides, very crisp presentation. Thank you, really enjoyed that. Just my question is on the costing. So you talked about, I'm just trying to connect the things like the Obamacare, the average reimbursement rate is 90%. I guess that was research done to see that it was that was the case. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, Jamil. I believe the last few slides have some math related to that, right?
Not to the Obamacare, but to other cost figures.
I would love to see, because I was getting to the costing just to understand how you know, the ROI, how you've assessed that, if because I didn't specifically see a slide on the ROI. So
yeah,
just go to 26.
So essentially what we did for our sales was that we took the ones from 2015 from the financial statements, like seen as here. And then if you look at the next slide, all our projected sales we took from we took them from 2019, 2020 financial statements as well.
This is the existing financial statements available on Google, right? Like on the website. Okay, but it includes all products and services, right?
No, so what we did was, for instance, if you see on the right hand side, the solutions account for 60% of all of the net sales. And then there's 5 major categories. When we took the one that was the LINAC solutions, right, which is the one that pertains to our case. And then after, based from the information given in the case competition, we then took 15% of that.
Okay.
So it was a rough estimate, but yeah.
Okay. So then you projected growth on that 15% extract that you have from 215?
Exactly, yeah. And Muna is the one that did the calculation, if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, so I didn't include that here, but I saw that for capital employed, they had 4 of the total. So I assumed that because we have 15% of all our Linux sales, of the total sales, is 15% of that is Linux sales. So I included that in our calculations to calculate our return on investment.
For existing return on investment.
Yeah, so the existing return on investment.
Okay, but with this new product, which, you know, by the way, have you guys branded it? Have you given it a name or no?
Universal Clarity.
Okay.
The Clarity Revamped.
Okay, Clarity Revamped. Okay, good, good name. So this Clarity Revamped, like, it would cost incremental revenue, right? An incremental cost. So it would give, with the investments, it would give a new ROI.
Yes, normally it should give a new ROI, because now we're able to use it for more stuff. Initially, it was only 13% of the market that we could have used it on, but now it has increased by 34%, so up to 52%. So we should be able to use it on more patients, and that should make our return better.
Okay, okay. Better than the current.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
I actually like this this slide, because I was wondering where your 52% came from. But looking at this and keeping in mind your major competitor, how do you actually position yourself to capitalize on this against your I forget the name of the main competitor.
Varian, I think.
Yes.
Well, Sarah, if I might actually.
Go ahead.
So the way we position ourselves against them is more that Varian's solution is more it's an intrusive, like they have to go into the body for their positioning, and it's not even it's purely a coordinate system that they provide as well. So it's like you have to go here, here, and here, whereas with Clarity, it provides more control to the user of the system because it allows them to actually see what they're working on rather than just being told like it's like having a seeing eye dog versus having eyes. Like
So we have the
you,
imaging option, and also, yeah, we have the imaging option. So that means we don't need to be in the room to scan, to take care of the client, the patient. Meanwhile, they have the coordinate system, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, Variant is the coordinate system that they have. Yeah.
Yeah, so the image really gives us the advantage, we believe, once we're able to essentially both do all the parts of the body.
Got it. Thank you.
And with our new process, we could also be like them to do all parts of the body. So we're better than them now because we have the imaging system. We do what they do, and we're non-invasive. So we don't need to put anything inside the patient's body, whereas they need to put some radioactive
radiotherapy.
That's fine. Yeah, they need to put some sensors.
Yeah, some sensors.
Mhm.
Okay, I have a few questions, if you don't mind. Thank you for the presentation. The solution that you're providing is essentially the robot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the physical device. I have a few questions regarding that. This robot, is it something that is autonomous, or is it something that you have to do like a manual control? How does it function?
So I was actually the main person who designed this, and what I envisioned was based on my time in computer integrated manufacturing. So if you can imagine the way just the manual control of RoboCell was the way I envisioned the controls for this.
Good.
Like just pure manual control. Yeah.
Yeah, good, great. Okay, for that, so how does it connect it to, you need some sort of base for that, right? So in terms of wiring, is it wireless, wired? How does that?
Yeah, I not an electrical engineer student, so I have no idea how to do wiring, but if the time came, I would try and have them mimic what other robotic arms do, where you either pass the wiring through the entire arm and through the joints and out through the bottom, and then from there it can be plugged into wherever it needs to be plugged in, or it would.
Yeah. So the reason I asked that question is the base is fixed, right? Or is it movable?
The base is movable.
Movable.
Yeah.
Okay, because one of the requirements are that you have to have no interference with what is being done on the patient. So I'm wondering how this requirement is addressed there. Okay, so it is movable, so that you need to have some sort of wire connecting that. Okay, that's good. I have a question regarding how in terms of manufacturing, how many units are you do you think that you have to produce as a prototype, or I don't know, proof of concept or something that you want to have an initial project to start with?
So I would say, so currently we're servicing about 6,000 hospitals. So yeah, we estimated that we're going to be selling 4 times more products, since our market now is enlarged, since we can now do more parts of the body. And yeah, based on our calculations, we can now treat 4 times more cancer patients. So yeah, so 4 times more products than we're already currently selling.
But I think your question was specifically about prototype making, right?
Prototype, exactly. So when you start a project.
Yeah, so for prototyping, I would say additive manufacturing would be a good method to use, but not really for this kind of geometry. For prototyping, I'd imagine what would be best is to recreate the geometry with something simpler like not going full on for the plastic we chose, because that requires the investment into the proper machines to shape the plastic and all that. So definitely like hand manufacturing of maybe 1 to 10 prototypes, just to make sure. The prototypes would be mostly to make sure that the degree of movement is done.
Yes, sounds good. How long do you think it would be the time frame to produce the prototype?
That I'm not super sure about, because it would depend on who is contracted for doing it.
And about the cost, roughly speaking?
So the cost of the material is about $600 per, I think it was 6 kilograms ish. So it would depend on like how many you made. So I would say roughly 5,000 for the 10 or so.
Yeah, each like just the plastic components is like 4 kilograms at most.
So let's say you want to create a startup. How much money do you need to make the prototypes work and then deliver, and then get the contract and then plan for the rest? How much money would you think you need to invest there?
I'm not good at these kinds of calculations on the spot.
No, that's good. I just want to ask. Okay, so there's in terms of software that you need to have to operate on the robot. Has there been any research on this? Are you planning to create your own software, or get something from the existing market? I suppose they're pretty standard, I suppose. What is it that you have in mind?
So I'll comment on this again. Have you ever seen, so like it was gonna like be based mostly on how RoboCell functions, as I mentioned in the presentation, and basically to my understanding, that's just like a program that it's just interacting with the motors themselves, and it doesn't have to do much more than that. I don't know how it's
my
programmed.
question is, are you going to hire a contractor to write a software for you?
Yeah, that would probably be the choice, because I don't know how to do that, unfortunately.
Okay, no, that's good. Thank you.
I just have a follow-up question to all my costing. They're also going from fee for service to a flat fee. Will that impact your financials? Like I think it was Maimuna that you sorry if I mispronounced your name, that you showed me like that financial slide, but does that impact? I realize we're increasing the application, we're going after a larger market, which is great in Sanja's prostate, but would that have an impact since now it's a flat fee? And if it does, decline, positive or negative?
Okay, so it's a flat fee, but our costs are lower now. So it shouldn't be extremely expensive. And if it was, it's going to be, if a patient needs to use it, like they have no choice, they'll have to use it. So it won't really affect us that much, because at the end of the day, we still need to provide the service, and they still need to use it because it's a medical condition. And our deals are usually with insurance companies, and their reimbursement rates are 90%. So I don't think the flat fee should be a problem.
Okay, so so you feel like it will not change your numbers in any way, or your assumption?
It will definitely change, but like not by a big amount, because it's an essential product, like in the cancer industry. And we deal with insurance companies who usually have good reimbursement rates. So it should be fine.
Okay. My typical classic question, what do you see the top 3 risks in what you've presented to us that you would need to mitigate?
Risks to
any type of risks.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have to pass to the deliberation stage.
Okay, well, you can tell us.
So I'll be closing and then opening the breakout room. Awesome. So
we have to move.
yeah, the judges, you guys should have access to your breakout rooms now, and I'm going to move the team into the participation room just for the next 15 minutes. I'll be calling everyone into the room. It won't be long.
Since everyone's here, we're going to start with the feedback. But for the participants, just as you know, for 5:15, we're asking you guys to return to the case solving room where we'll be announcing the team that will be going to the next round. Thank you. So if the judges are ready.
Sure. Thank you so much for the presentation. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed putting it together. I liked it because it was, it had a very clean and logical flow. The slides were very nice, much like your product rendering, and I commend you for being able to produce a SolidWorks image in the 6 hours that you had at your disposals to put the whole case together. I appreciated that you were aware of all the sections that you needed to touch in your presentation. You made it clear in the beginning and you tried to stay on that track. One of the things that may be easy to miss is ethics and sustainability, right? You paused on that and you gave it appropriate kind of attention. What I would suggest maybe for future, spend a little bit more time in backing up your assumptions with a little bit more data, doing a little bit more research on, costing and ROI. And, my colleagues kind of touched on it during the Q&A, which, by the way, you've handled very well. I like the way you were prepared to answer possible questions. You were thinking on your feet. So it was really was a pleasure listening to your presentation. Thank you.
So I can go next and maybe Ali. Because I'm just going to say, I'm going to reiterate what Angela said. Like, I really liked the presentation as well. I love the handoffs. I love the beginning. There's one particular slide that Sarah presented that I really loved, that was the factors to consider. So when I saw that slide, I got excited, sustainability, ethics, profitability, efficiency, versatility. I was like, okay, so now they're going to answer all this, right? So, so the ethics and sustainability, you guys handled that very well. And the fact that you touched on it seems to me you knew what the scoring criteria are, what the requirements were from a case, case analysis perspective, and you ticked all the boxes, like or at least you attempted to do that. So I think that's great that you guys did that. The product I really liked. It's simple, but I think it's interesting because it already exists, so it's not like a stretch of the imagination. Even though we have to be innovative, but sometimes the simplest things can actually give a good ROI, right? So back to the ROI. So there's a little bit of a disconnect, which I understand why you guys did that between the engineering solution and the financials. You relied on the financial statements of the company, and you tried to extrapolate from there, Electa, but you could have made up some numbers, right? Based on the stats that you saw, and kind of come up with a pricing, costing, and potential ROI, like the investment, like the Ali's point, how many for the prototype, like the R&D step, and all that's part of the investment, right? So what would be the ROI? So even though you could have put footnotes and said, heavy assumptions, right? There's a big variance and potentially what could happen here, but at least it shows, that you understand ROI. So that was probably like the shortfall from our perspective, but I think you still attempted and, addressed it well. And what else? Yeah, no, overall, I was very, very pleased. And like Angela said, I hope you guys had fun doing this as well.
We really did. Thank you.
I too thank you for your presentation. It was an honest presentation. You presented what you were supposed to. You captured the requirements of the case. You basically itemized them. This is usually what we're looking for. There were a few things that I just want to emphasize on that. There was one part that I thought, that was the impression that I got, that you claimed one of the goals as your achievement. For example, you said our solution provides this. How? It was not clear to me. And I was planning to ask a follow-up question on that, but during Q&A, we didn't have a chance. It is always a good idea to provide the concrete plan, what you're doing. That's why I ask a few questions regarding that. I'm not a marketing person, so probably it's not my area to comment on this. But when you are calculating some figures in terms of like ROI or anything regarding sales or investments, I have to see some data saying that, for example, these are our costs, these are the foreseen costs, and this is the projection that we can do, and then here is the ROI that we can get. Normally, just projecting on what the company is currently doing, may not be accurate. So, what you're doing in terms of your development should affect that. The other thing that I want to mention is that I was looking for some sort of selling point on why companies should adopt your solution. You presented a great solution, in terms of what you designed, but if you provide some comparison with the competitors that may exist in the field, that would have been nice. And I think that's it for me. One little technical thing that I always comment regarding the slide numbers. There was also one note saying that see slide number 24, but there was no slide number, unfortunately. Maybe it was missing, just pay attention on that. Apart from that, it was a great presentation. Thank you and good luck.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. It was really, really fun.
Did you guys have honestly fun? You should.
Honestly, yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Excellent.
I know stressful because of the time limit, but it was fun overall.
Yeah, it was fun figuring SolidWorks back out again. Yeah.
It looked like you had fun.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, so we have to check back on the main room at 5:15.
Yeah, 5:15.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Solving room.
Good luck, everyone. Good luck. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, judges, for taking the time. This is really, really appreciated. Before you guys leave, we would just like to have your feedback. So if it's possible for you guys to just fill out this form, I'll send it to you. It won't be long. Just have to find it. I'm going to post it in the chat.
Oh, it's in the chat. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm going to post it in the chat. Yes, I just have to copy. Where's the chat? There it is. Everyone meeting. Here you go. So just fill out, it's just feedback so we can know how to improve on or where to improve on. So we really appreciate your feedback. And I'm going to stop the recording. I also have one more announcement. If there's any of you guys that are judging for the final round, you guys should have gotten an email with the Zoom link to join.
Zoom link.
Please, yeah, so please join at 5. Okay, so thank you so much for everything. We really appreciated it, and we hope to see you guys in February.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah,
Bye,
take
guys.
care.
everyone.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.